everybody, another episode of Catch Not Fish, and I had an amazing fishing adventure this past weekend. It was last Friday night. I was up and about, and I really wanted to go fishing. I really wanted to go fish, to catch fish, and I had a lot of things to do, so I was taking care of chores around the house and just handling things around the home, and I was up to like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and while I'm doing things, I'm listening to YouTube videos as well. And when I was younger in North Carolina, we used to go fishing in creeks and swamps, and we used to always catch bowfins, and the bowfins are called mudfish here in the state of Florida. So a lot of times if I ask, hey, have you caught a bowfin or have you seen a bowfin, they will look kind of confused and say, no. I said, the fish kind of looks like a snakehead. Oh, you're talking about a mudfish, but there are numerous names for them. Some people call them bowfin, some people call them a dogfish, some people call them a lungfish, I believe a grinnell, a blackfish, a mudfish, and there are numerous names, just depending on what side of the country or area you're located in. So it's been 15, 16 years since I caught a bowfin in North Carolina, and it's been a species that I wanted to catch here in Florida because I know they're there, because they have to be, because you have the habitat, you have the structure and the bait, the specific fish is going to be there. So one reason why I'm so excited and I'm so fulfilled and I feel like mission accomplished, because what I wanted to catch, I caught. And the place I went to go catch it, I had never been there before. So I put in at Lofton Creek at the Melton O. Nelson boat ramp. And I first fished that boat ramp about 2017. And I used to go towards, when you put in at the boat ramp and you make a left and you're heading towards the Nassau River, and a lot of people say they're fishing the power lines. So I found out where the power lines were, and I fished there quite a bit. I used to have a 14-foot John boat, so it was very easy to manage everything. It was very simple to just put in and just fish up along the creeks, and that's where I caught my first red bass or redfish or red drum. And but I never put in at the boat ramp and went towards the right. Now going towards the right, the water is still brackish, but you're going up the creek, so it's becoming more fresh water. And like I said, I went as far as I could go. There were 3 points where I did not want to chicken out because it was 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And I will say it was almost at the very tail end of low tide. So whenever you're going somewhere and you've never been there before, you always want to go on low tide, because if you go somewhere on high tide, when the tide starts going out, you may be stuck in some areas or some pockets because of an obstruction. For example, the location I stopped at, that was the only place I stopped and fished. There was a tree across the creek blocking me from going any further. Now, when the tide started coming back in, that tree covered up. So maybe if I wanted to go a little bit further, I probably could have. But on low tide, that was as far as I could make it, and I will include pictures of that tree So I always go places for the first time you've never been on low tide. That way you can kind of see. And there's so much stuff running through my head. And that's the same as when you're fishing for the sheep's head or the mangrove snappers. When you go places on low tide, you're able to see the oyster beds. So on high tide, you just see the water, you see the top of the water. But when the tide goes out and the water column drops down, you can see structure, you can see the oyster beds, you can see rock piles that you will not see on high tide. So that's why that's a good tip to keep in your mind when you're scouting for new spots, or maybe you fish an area and you don't know why. Man, if I cast right there, I always will hook up with something. Well, it's more than likely it's because it's some type of structure or some type of domain that the fish relate to and they hold there. So I made it all the way to the spot where I could not continue anymore, and I was using dead shrimp and cut finger mullet and blue crabs directly on the bottom, and I was using a Carolina rig, simple mainline, an egg roll synchro to a swivel, and I was using probably about a 12-inch leader with a 2-aught circle hook. And I was so excited because I never really had action like that in a long time. I put the dead shrimp on the hook and I cast out. And when I cast out, by the time I turned around and started getting ready to bait my second rod and reel, I could hear the rod in the rod holder. It was bent down. I picked up and I caught my first bowfin. So in the state of Florida, and that's what I wanted to catch. So it's so amazing. It was like, man, I actually caught what I wanted to catch within the first 30 seconds. And it was because I knew if I wanted to catch a bowfin, I probably needed to go into the back creeks. And the area that I was in, it was about, I believe it was 10 feet. So for example, when I was going navigating through the creeks, it was 4, 5 feet deep. Some spots you get up to 2 feet deep. But even on low tide, when there is a bend getting ready to come up, so I'm going around a bend, it will be 2 to 3 feet deep, and as soon as you go around that bend, even on low tide, it'll be 10 feet deep, 12 feet deep. So what that tells me is, even on low tide, if you know where those holes are, you find those holes, and more than likely you probably can cast in those holes and it'll hold fish, especially in the summertime. Because when it's hot outside, the fish are not gonna go and just migrate and just stay there. They're gonna go where those holes are to stay cool. And that's where I was fishing. I could only go as far as I could go because of the tree, and it was a creek bend. So I literally just put my anchor out, I anchored up, and where I was casting was on the very outskirts towards the shore of the creek bend. So I was just casting out. I was casting directly out behind the boat. You can see the creek winding on around, and that's where I was catching all my fish. And it feels good when you can put together a lot of variables. You can be able to do what it is that you want to do. That's why I started this channel, Catch Not Fish. So you go fishing, especially if you work a lot and then you're off, and like, hey, what do you want to do today? But I want to go catch fish. So another reason I wanted to put fish in the boat was for dinner, and it was so good. But I had a surprise catch. And another reason why this trip was so amazing is because I will admit I caught my first slot red, and I'll include pictures of that slot red. And I have caught numerous reds. There are redfish that are about 16 inches. You have to throw those back. Plus, I have caught bull reds before. So a bull red is, I don't know, 30 plus 40 inches. So I have caught either a smaller red or a bigger red. I have never caught a slot red. And in the state of Florida currently, you can have 2, and the slot is 18 inches to 27 inches. And I believe they actually changed it as well. You only can have, I don't want to say 8 per vessel. I saw some new, that's why you have to always constantly check, because even with sheep's head, they changed it from like March to April, and it's another part of the year. If you catch sheep's head, you can keep 8 per person, but only 50 total per boat. It's some new rule. It's like, that's why you always have to constantly check. You don't want to get a ticket because they can be pretty stiff by the FWC, and that'll ruin the entire trip more than likely. Especially if you were just trying to go out and have a good day and enjoy time out on the water, potentially catch dinner, and then you wind up getting a $300, $400, $500 ticket. You know, so just be mindful of the rules and regulations. So, like I said, it was a good day. It was an amazing day. I had an amazing day. We actually did eat some of the bowfin. So a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's a trash fish," or just like the Jack Crevalle that I caught last year. Like, but I bled it out and I filleted it. I cut the bloodline out, and it was very, very good, especially if you season it correctly. And we tried it. It was delicious. The redfish was delicious, and it was an amazing day. So I hope I have gave you all some helpful tips, and like I said, much more to come this year. I'm very excited, and it's almost time for me to get ready to go to work. So till next time, let's catch not fish. Thanks for watching.